Please move further away from the microphone and stop breathing.
Okay, I get it. You told me. I understand.
Okay. Are we recording?
We are now.
I've been recording the whole time for my deposition. So,
You're always recording. That is a big Red Bull.
so it just looks big in comparison to my shoulders.
Doofus.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back to the 419. Thanks to our sponsors, Wetro Wealth Management and WorkSpring for their continued support of the podcast. I'm Kevin Mullen alongside Gretchen DeBacker and Matt Killam.
Welcome in.
Matt, you were, before we hit record, we always talk about, like, we're constantly amazed at the fact that anybody listens to this and the support that we get.
Wait, if we're not recording, I don't feel like I'm not going to talk to the two of you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know that you should.
Yeah, okay.
But we are now recording.
Okay, yeah, all right.
This is being recorded.
Then I will acknowledge your dude's existence.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
thank you. I appreciate that. So, but you learned that
Yes.
I don't know that it's important for people to know that, like, we don't pay attention to what anybody else thinks about this.
I didn't know until today that we received feedback.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Which applies
me.
to all aspects of my
Well,
life.
I do know anyone that listens to the show knows that the two of you are strong at providing.
Yes.
But
It's what I like to call a feedback loop.
That's right, but not in the traditional sense of loop.
No.
Just starts and ends
It's a
with
feedback
It's like
line.
it is like a pointed feedback finger. And to that point,
I know you.
I
I
did a
know
little
you.
browsing on the World Wide Web.
How bored have you been lately?
You have no idea.
Yeah.
And we have a review.
Oh.
Yes, it's not favorable.
Oh.
So,
Would this be like, did they actually put a star to
yeah,
it?
no, I'm going to read the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So it first of all starts off. It's entitled "Blah."
It's like a Yelp review.
This is yes. I don't know. It's on one of these things.
Is this Jody DeBacker at
this is
AOL.com?
Yeah. Proud mom, NT Gretchen. So this is from Knights 97.
Okay.
This sir and or madam wrote this. Pretty much a circle jerk consisting of some fringe Toledo movers and shakers who interview friends with Toledo name recognition. If you've heard Kevin Mullen on the radio, then you will know what to expect from this podcast. Basically, you're eavesdropping in on some friends sitting around a kitchen table taking about their friends.
Taking?
I assume it means talking. Yeah, well, Night 97 is a busy person.
Right.
A couple things about this. A, thank you for the time.
Thank you for the time. But are they friends or are they fringe? I mean, pick a lane.
Well, I love the idea. First of all, most of this is 100% true.
Yeah.
The
But
circle
we don't
jerk person, we don't sit in
No,
a
we
circle.
don't sit in a circle.
Yeah, that's an important.
We are jerks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue, you could draw a half circle.
Yeah.
Between us, but it
Yeah.
is
The
not a full
traditional
I love
circle.
it.
circle
I just
jerk.
love
Come on,
I just
come on.
love January 17th, blah.
Blah.
Yeah.
We should send that to whoever our guest was
I
in
thought
January.
about that. I did. Thanks for ruining our show.
Are there any higher rated reviews on there? Or?
Kevin just taught me how to do this. And
okay.
That's the only person.
Yeah, so Matt showed it to me. So we're a 4.8 out of 5.
We'll see.
And there's 15 total ratings, but only one review. So that means that we got 14 5-star reviews and 1 2-star review.
Listen, I didn't come here to talk about math.
From Knights 97. So what that means is, first of all, did you know that apparently you can, like, tell us what you like and you can review things?
So when you
and
hear...
then we will, several months later, we will be notified of this.
Remember our sign-on.
And when you tell us, here's what I don't like about this, we will agree with you that that's exactly what we were trying to do. And
But isn't it also like, I mean, it is intended to sort of be like we're sitting around talking to people, right? I mean,
100%.
Have you heard the concept of a podcast?
Yeah, I love it.
Right.
I took most of what he wrote as a negative review.
Yeah.
I took most of it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad that it feels that way.
Well, let's not apply tone. We don't know what he meant by blah.
We don't. He could have just had a little tummy ache.
That's right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But we are actually encouraging people to like, rate, and review the pod?
Oh,
Is that
I think
a thing?
let's not.
Let's not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think as long as we all agree that we're awesome,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's how shows work.
Yeah.
How many email addresses do you have, Gretchen? That's how many reviews you're allowed to submit.
Let's get
I
to the
have
real
3
star of the
emails.
show. Whose show is today?
It's my show.
Okay. Oh boy.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is an interesting twist.
Yeah, all right.
Twist! And the twist is...
There's been a murder.
The twist is, have you invited another guest co-host?
Yeah.
Do I need
No.
another microphone?
No,
quickly?
no
Is
additional
it Knights
microphone.
97?
Yeah, that'd be so good.
That would be so good.
Tom Cole, come on out.
He would have a Knights 97 email address.
No, he
I feel
wouldn't.
like.
He's a St. John's grad.
Oh.
And
But that would be just another
could be a Columbus
way.
night.
That's right. It could be a roundtable
Question.
night. We don't know. Anyway, this person,
round
I'm
tables where we
taking
get in
this in a different direction. Normally, as you guys all know, and as our many, many listeners know, we bring someone on that we know,
That's right.
maybe introduce them to you too, but sort of to the audience. Well, in this instance, I don't know this person.
Oh my gosh, lucky them.
This person, I've met them once.
Okay.
They were recommended to me. I know things that they're doing in the community. I know them through my sister.
Okay.
But you two both know this person
Okay.
quite well, I would say.
Is it my wife?
It's a woman. She's a member of Rotary.
Okay.
She does stuff with the Metro Parks.
Great.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
She is the rector of St. Michael's in the Hills. It's Gayle Catinella.
Gayle, you sneaky so-and-so. I just saw.
Yeah, well, we got a probe at 5:30.
We got a whole nother thing happening.
Yeah.
We got it covered.
Yeah.
Hello.
How about that?
It was so funny when you
Man.
asked me. I'm like, sure, I'll be there.
First of all, let me tell
Just-
you,
Well,
the
yeah,
amount of,
before
go
you
ahead.
start.
the amount of
Yeah.
deceit.
Yeah. For
She
a
asked me
rector.
questions about, well, tell me where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just tell our audience that my sister Jennifer goes to St. Michael's in the Hills, so she knows Gayle, and she told me, she's been telling me for a while, you have to have her on, you have to have her on.
Right.
She's
So
persuasive.
yeah, she is.
Yes.
She's annoying. So I reached out,
I didn't say that.
and then I find out, then we canceled for a week because one of our guests was sick. And so we're recording this week when we should have recorded last week. Well, in the intermediary week, Gayle reached out and said, I just had coffee with Matt.
Yeah.
And he wants me to be
He
on
was
the show.
miserable.
What should I do? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
lie.
5:30.
tell him at 5:30.
Yeah.
And I said, tell
Lie.
him you'll be on the
Lie to
show.
him.
Let him tell
Yeah.
you the
No,
details.
I was going to come.
Yeah.
Still come at 4:30, and then I have another guest for 5:30.
She's gonna come back and she's
Yeah.
gonna do it all over again
Surprise.
in an hour.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do want credit for, I get a lot of guff, excuse my language,
Not that.
from these two chowder heads for not like planning in advance.
Well, Gail did tell me you gave her no details about
Until
today.
this morning. Well, don't make
I'm
him
sorry.
hate me, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can hate each other, but don't.
Yeah.
But
That's the good word.
that's where the two-star
you two
review
can hate
comes
each other, but
You too.
I'm the good one
Yeah,
here.
hate your neighbor. It's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not the message you're going for,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not neighbors.
No.
Actually, I
You
think
don't
they
know
are in the biblical sense. We'll talk about that. So no,
Wow.
but I think
How are
Matt,
you enjoying
The
it so
mind
far?
reels.
Yeah.
Ask me a question.
Just shut the brain down
To
for the
Matt's-
next hour.
to Matt's point, I think we should celebrate
Yes.
the wins here. That Matt did have an invitation out to somebody
Ahead of
prior
time.
to today.
Oh,
He met
yeah,
with
last
them.
week.
Yeah.
They were interested in coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also
I would
talked
do
to Gayle.
anything for Matt.
Yes, and yeah.
And
I would.
IU. So
No, tell me how you two know each other and through what work in
Let's
the
just
community.
step on Love Your Neighbor a little bit, I think.
Right. Well, when we decided that the concert venue was too small, our parking lot was too small, Brent Kuzno contacted you and said, we need something bigger. And we ran into each other as you were sitting outside of SIP, and I said, Matt. Well, actually, I didn't because I didn't remember your name at that point. But you said, Reverend, or something. Anyway,
Yeah, when you start a story, how much of the information do you need to greenlight it?
maybe more than I have.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway,
Yeah, fire away.
You said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've got the Glass City Metro Pucks for you," and we almost started crying. Remember me?
Oh.
And, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And that was for the Love Your Neighbor event?
Yes,
So let's
well-
back up just a little bit. And and you're a member of Rotary, and that's how you know
So
this guy.
proud to be a member of Rotary.
It's a great group, and
Yes, it
Gayle
is.
has been an incredible addition to our
Occasionally,
club.
yeah.
No, on a regular basis, you're an incredible addition. So
So I am not Episcopalian.
the term is Rotarian.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Same
What
thing.
are you referred to as? Is it Reverend, or is it Miss or Mrs.? Is it Rector? Is it Pastor? What is your title?
It kind of depends on who you are.
Okay.
Well, just
So-
answer the question.
Pretend
Gayle.
it's me.
Okay, so for you, it would be the Reverend.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're dumb.
Well, because it's official and I don't know her.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, I like that.
But if you knew me, you might call me Rector when you're mad at me.
Okay.
Oh.
But never call me Mother.
Mother. Ugh.
Because
Yeah, I
and some
wouldn't.
people are into that.
Was that like something that people used to call?
as opposed to father?
Oh, I
Yeah.
get it.
So, but I am a mother of many children, and I've been called mother under not such nice circumstances. And so I just skip that whole thing. If you are Protestant, you might call me pastor. And if you're Catholic, you might call me reverend. Some people call me sister, but that's not correct.
That's not it either. Right.
No.
And so you
what is
are a
it?
recent, it's
Reverend.
Reverend. You're a relatively recent transplant to Toledo.
Right.
Being brought in by St. Michael's of the Hills to be the rector there.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about that church and your role there, where you came from, that kind of thing?
So I was in Youngstown, Ohio, and I had been there almost 10 years. And every 10 years, I think it's time for a change.
Sure.
So, plus I'm getting old,
Yeah.
got to make those changes
That's
before
how I
it's
view my
too
toothbrush.
late. Yeah. So, so I applied for this job because I just felt called. I mean, it's not an easy way to explain a call, but it just was, it felt right.
Sure.
And I felt good about it, as opposed to other places who asked me to apply, and I thought, no.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Would you
Would
like
you
to
like
mention
that in a million
would you like
years?
to mention some of them?
What was your impression of Toledo before you came to visit, and then kind of how quickly did that, did you reinforce what you thought, or did you change what you thought?
Well, I'm from Chicago. I've worked out in the Cleveland suburbs. I've worked in Youngstown. So Toledo is very similar to Cleveland and Youngstown. It's old. It's gritty. It's got the industrial background,
For sure.
and it's very diverse ethnicity-wise. It's an interesting place. It's got great metro parks. It's got a great library system. It's got a great arts scene. It's everything you might want.
Reverend, remind me, I'm embarrassed to admit I've forgotten where in Chicago you're from.
Well, I was born in the city of Chicago. I grew up in the southwest suburbs, and I lived in Chicago for a while as an adult.
Okay. Favorite part of Chicago to live in, visit?
Oh, I lived in Uptown. It was great.
Yeah, sure.
I loved Uptown so
I lived in
much.
Roscoe Village.
Oh, okay.
So Uptown is pretty awesome.
Yeah, really. I mean, I went by the lake every night.
Yeah.
I took a walk by the lake before I
Absolutely.
went to bed. Oh, beautiful.
I'm not a huge fan of Chicago. Like, I love New York City. I think New York City is big enough that the chaos becomes sort of beautiful, but I think Chicago to me is just chaos.
Chicago.
What do you mean? Elaborate.
Yeah,
No one agrees with that position.
Yeah, no, I know.
There's too much stuff going on?
No, I think it's in that middle ground, right? Where I think there's too much stuff going on.
Interesting.
For it to be the size that it is. I don't know.
Wow. How many times have you been?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Never been.
I mean,
One of you was like, never been.
Never been.
Just heard about it.
Yeah.
No,
I watched Blues Brothers, and I was like, that place is chaos.
No, a half a dozen.
You read a review
Yeah.
online.
A half a dozen times.
Yeah, from night 97.
Yeah, that's right.
Can
2-star
you
review.
Heavily influenced.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's a grid. I find it extremely manageable, and I feel the reverse about New York. I was like, why would anyone want to live here to duke it out to get groceries and dry cleaning and blah?
I don't know that I would want to live in either one of them.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that.
Yeah.
I would live in either one of them, and Toledo.
Yeah. Well, it's
Nice
good
save.
'cause-
Easy with the tough, hard stand there. Yeah.
Thanks,
Trying to
Switzerland.
be
Coming
tough.
from
Trying to
10
be
years
tough.
in Youngstown,
Right,
so
right.
that's a tough place
We're-
to live. There's a lot going on there.
Yes.
We've got dear friends of our family, the Lasivitas, who lived in Youngstown, and I think still do to some degree. I think still do because the Lasivitas that we know were fairly old.
Terrific people in Youngstown.
Yeah.
And you could be very happy there as long as you expect nothing to change.
Sure.
So if you expect something to change, you're going to be a little bit dissatisfied. But the people are great.
Yeah,
old
that's how
school.
people have
Yeah.
described this show.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the congregation, about your community at St.
Yes,
Michael in the Hills.
please.
If folks aren't familiar, obviously the Hills refers to Ottawa Hills.
Right? So they've been there since the 50s. The lovely thing about them is they're so nice to one another, and they come to church every Sunday. I
Yeah.
mean, for a priest, these two things are huge.
Big deals.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Huge. If someone's in trouble, if someone's having a rough time, people are there for them.
Yeah.
In ways that are unexpected and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I always say that, we need to be careful when new people are coming to make sure we treat everybody with as much care, which they do.
Yeah.
So it's not even like I have to say anything.
It's a beautiful facility. There's no school attached to it, right? It's
Correct.
It's just the parish.
Right.
And what is the primary difference, if you could, between other Christian, Catholicism and being Episcopalian?
So the Episcopal Church is the middle way.
Okay.
The middle way between
The
Catholicism.
best bowlers. That's my Episcopalian friend said, we're the best bowlers. I was like,
I have no comment on that
okay.
at this
Why didn't
time.
you put you on the spot? I'm
Yeah, bowling.
Tough questions coming from Matt.
sorry. Yeah.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're the middle way between Catholicism and Protestantism. So we have a lot of the Catholic worship, but we have a democratic structure for governance and women priests.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Significant for me.
Yeah. And so did you begin that? Is it a seminary school? Is it divinity school? What is the pathway
MMA.
to yeah.
MMA.
It depends on the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I did not take a traditional path to the priesthood.
Please be MMA. Please say MMA.
Yeah, please let it be boxing.
Not mixed martial arts. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
You chose whose
no,
guest you wanted to be, lady.
No.
Yeah, and you didn't choose right.
He's
No.
still bitter. He's still bitter.
I'm sorry. So I was called to be a priest when I was about 13, but I didn't actually get ordained until I was 40. So
Wow.
So it took me a while to get my act together.
Can
obviously.
I ask, was that the calling an aha moment or an aha period, an individual that meant something to you? What was that? What did?
It's a great story. You want to hear this story?
That's
do.
what the show is.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Then I fit right in. So 13 years old, best friend Gina Fletcher.
She's great.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
She had one younger sister who was tolerable, and I had a younger brother and a younger sister who were intolerable.
Okay.
So I ate supper at her house a lot, and her mother was a Southern Baptist through and through, sweetest woman in the whole world. But when we would sit down to eat, to pray, she would pray longer than it took to eat the meal. I mean,
Sure.
she went at it. And one time, in the middle of the prayer, she said to me, she just stopped and she looked at me. She said, "Gayle, what is God calling you to do with your life?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm 13."
Yeah, right.
And she said, "You need to ask God what you should do with your life." I'm like, "Okay, can we just eat?"
Yeah.
So I went home and I remember distinctly going into my closet, which I don't remember usually doing, and shutting the door and saying, "God, I am sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to ask you first
Sure.
before I became something. So what do you want me to do?" And God said, "Be a priest." And I said, because I was Polish National Catholic at the time, break away from the Roman Catholic Church.
So you broke away from being Polish?
Not personally,
Okay.
my ancestors.
That's right.
So I said, I don't know if you've noticed, but there aren't women priests in my church. And God said, "Be a priest." So I wrote a letter to the prime bishop of the Polish National Catholic Church at age 13 and said, "I'm feeling called to be a priest. What are my chances?" And he never wrote me back, but he did.
Well,
put
you were just a
little,
girl.
Well, yeah, he did put a little blurb in the bulletin saying women will never, ever, 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 ever be priests.
It literally said that?
In the Polish National Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So that was inspiring, right? Your words.
Well, so I thought I'll be a doctor.
Yeah, that's right.
That
I'll
was
be a
plan-
lawyer and
plan B.
condemn this place.
Well, I didn't have. That's God's job.
Yeah.
I don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
We're all forgiving and
Yeah.
reconciling people.
Yes.
But so
Well
I
said.
made it through high school without shaming myself, and in college I was singing with a sacred music group that had a lot of Episcopalians, including a priest in it, and he said, we were drinking a lot of wine one night. I was in college, and he said, "If you're called to be a priest, you should be an Episcopalian." And I said, "I know.
Yeah.
I should be an Episcopalian." So I became an Episcopalian, and the rest took a long
Where did
time.
you go to school?
Loyola undergrad.
Sure.
And University of Illinois Chicago for an MSW.
Okay.
I was a social worker for a long time.
Wow.
Ran homeless shelters.
Oh, my goodness.
Therapist in private practice. taught part-time at Wayne State College, not university,
I was just going to say.
in Wayne, Nebraska.
Okay.
I was in Nebraska for a while. Lived on a farm for 11 years. And in the desert experience of farm life, I renewed my call to the priesthood and started working through a master's degree and all the other requirements.
Always a great student. Do you love learning? Talk to me about
it.
Was it just this gnawing feeling that you hadn't
Do you find it
done
annoying?
it?
Do you find it irritating when people interrupt you?
No, that was a great question.
Yeah.
So,
He hates it when people agree with me, just so you know.
Well, it doesn't happen.
I know,
a lot.
I've been
that's
listening
true.
to the podcast.
Yeah.
Are you
I did my
97?
homework.
Wait, yeah, did you?
I have
Wait
no
a
comment at this time.
See? She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Jesus knows the answer.
Yeah.
When you decided then to actually try it, had it been something always...
Yeah, remember,
this
this is the
feeling-
question you chose.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
and
the
I
one.
love the question.
Yeah.
So the answer to the question is that I did a lot of things. I ran homeless shelters, blah, blah, blah. But when I was ordained, I felt with my whole body, this is who I am. This is who I was supposed to be. All the rest of it was just preparation for that moment when I felt most fully myself.
Aw.
So, sometimes I think, oh, I'm done with this. But, then I realize this is me.
You would feel that with, potentially any line of work. And now that we know that she's a therapist, we could totally shift gears and just
we'll talk
Believe me, I've been thinking about this
get
a
deep
lot.
into some counseling during this session.
Yeah.
The last time we brought somebody on who was a doctor, they had a doctorate of education, and Gretchen was asking about moles.
I was.
So just be careful
She
how
gets
far
confused
down.
easily.
That's
Yeah.
that's a difficult
But Kevin
subject.
almost became a priest.
I
did?
know. I listened
And
to that
I almost
podcast
became a nun.
episode. I listened to that podcast episode.
So Kevin,
I
Matt was never
not
anything.
included in that summary.
Matt was asked not to talk to anyone in religious life from a very young age.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Your folks, 1,000% behind this, wanted you to be an astronaut, wanted you to dance. What did they want?
Well, I kept disappointing them. I mean, I dropped out of pre-med, huge disappointment. Then I went to
Because your other brothers and
Belize.
sisters were doctors. What did they do?
No, they're great. So I went to Belize for
Hang on. Where are you in the line?
oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are they still annoying?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Kurt.
Can we call them?
I'll tell them about this myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a couple years.
Sure. That's right.
So,
When they're ready for it.
so then I went to Belize for a year to work for the Catholic Church, and that really threw them. And when I came back, I wasn't a nun, so they were happy. And then I went and worked in a Catholic worker and lived in a Catholic worker house for 4 years, and they almost had heart attacks.
Where
and
was
died.
that? Where-
in Chicago.
in Chicago.
Yeah, it was a homeless shelter. I lived there.
What did they do?
My dad was a Chicago fireman.
Yeah. All right.
So, interesting fact, at that point, he had to live outside the city, or couldn't live outside the city, had to live in the city.
Right.
So I never answered the phone in my entire childhood because they were afraid that someone would call to try to trick us into giving up that we lived in the suburbs.
Come on.
Oh my
Serious.
goodness.
Serious.
But being a firefighter is a call to service. I mean, that's public service.
Yeah, but the law was you had to live in Chicago
Oh, I
if
see
you were a
what you're saying.
Chicago fireman.
Got it.
So, and my mother was like #1 Kiwanis person in Darien, Illinois. It killed her when I became a Rotarian. I disappointed them over and over.
Yeah.
It's hard to be the black sheep at a priest, I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't quite work out
Sure.
logically, but I just, and then when I decided to
Well,
go to
the next
seminary,
phase,
they're like,
you can rub it in with them.
well, wink, wink, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah.
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 I'll see you at the gates, my friend.
Can we talk a little bit about work week sounds colder than I mean it to. So, but a week for you, obviously Sunday is sort of the big day. Yeah, but how you prepare for it, how you are available to your constituents, your neighbor, your community. What's an average work week like? How do you get ready to perform?
I really don't. I don't perform. I
Yeah.
pray.
Yeah.
But
We can edit that out to make me sound nicer.
okay, good. I don't have an average week.
Okay.
Monday is almost always my day off,
Sure.
and I almost always take it. And then Tuesday's crazy because it's my Monday.
Right.
And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, meetings. Friday, I write my sermon. Saturday, I
I want to
memorize
stop
my
you.
sermon.
When you write your sermon as what, and I know the answer is probably a million things, but what guides you in that path? How do you sit down? Is it a blank piece of paper? Is your computer up? I started 9 a.m. Can you walk through that process a little bit with us?
Homily helper. There's like a homily helper book.
There are a lot of those, actually.
Yeah.
So I usually start actually on Monday or Tuesday, and I don't even look at the readings yet, but I start praying about what the story is that God wants me to tell.
Interesting.
Because a story will often come to me, not always. It's very convenient when it does, and it's very convenient when it's a story I like.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bad story. I'm like, I'm not preaching.
And it comes to you in a way like...
Bing.
Yeah, no, that noise is helpful. I mean, like the end of it, the message. I'm fascinated by this ability, and not for nothing, but also the weekly pressure to some degree. My words, obviously not yours, to deliver on something that is not only important. Timely, that there's someone out there that needs it. It's part of a calling. It has to be relatively entertaining.
Never heard my sermons.
Yeah, no, and I don't plan to.
No, that's what I wasn't going to encourage that. But
actually, most of your constituents have encouraged me to not come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so, I kind of get a sense of the story or the message, and then I read the readings and see if it fits.
Okay.
And if it fits, then I just think about it all week. And then when I'm ready, sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to do. And I sit down at the computer and start writing, and it comes out.
Free flow. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Sure.
And I just sit
That's
down.
very relatable.
But
I get it.
Friday morning, because I was a priest with children, with some small children,
Yeah.
and you never knew what was going to happen. And, someone started throwing up on Saturday night, and I waited
or wanting to be
until
fed
then.
every day. It's a nightmare.
Oh, it's so irritating.
So dumb.
So now I just have that pattern, and it works for me.
Yeah, clearly.
Where are your children now?
So
They're in the next room, Kevin.
Oh, they're up next.
they're weeping.
Yeah.
Is this Maury Povich?
Yeah.
I have 3 adopted children, all of whom live in Nebraska at this moment, and I have 3 biological children, all of whom live in Cleveland or near Cleveland at the moment.
Have they met?
They lived together
No,
for
just
a
kidding.
long
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
which is probably why they live in Nebraska
Sure.
and Cleveland. But
Age range?
29 to 38.
Okay.
And,
You don't look old enough to have a 40-year-old.
And that's why you're my favorite, Gretchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will answer
I was about
any
to say the same
question.
thing.
Yeah.
I said it first. No.
Sorry, she beat you to it. I will answer any question you ask.
Okay, good.
I also have 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way.
Oh, my goodness.
That's right.
That's exciting.
It is wonderful. But again, you don't leave things to chance when you have 6 kids running around at your
That's
house.
right. I
So
get it.
I had to be pretty organized in order to function.
Best thing about Nebraska, tell me right away.
Omaha,
Yeah.
Lincoln,
Okay.
otherwise nothing.
Yeah, now you're just mentioning.
Yeah, Lincoln's pretty like a
Well said,
outpost.
Gretchen.
You know, I mean, it's
Lincoln's
very
great.
liberal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Omaha-
lived in Lincoln for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Omaha is one of the cities that we use comparatively
That's right.
for the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Omaha has some great things about it.
Yeah.
It really does.
Favorite thing?
Art museum.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great. And in Lincoln, it was the walking paths.
Yeah.
I could walk out my back door, and in 2 blocks, I was at a path that I could walk miles on.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this, the neighbor to neighbor
Yeah,
program
let's talk about
that St. Michael's, and I think specifically you, Gayle, either launched or sort of headed up this year.
Well, to be fair, it was a committee.
Okay.
And it wasn't my idea.
Okay.
And it wasn't this year. Other than that, she's got it.
Other than that,
yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't this year.
But it's the signs or
It's
stickers.
actually run by the Catholic Church.
Right,
but,
right.
Nailed it.
It was in Youngstown. It's a sign that people may have seen, which is a green, sort of a lime green background with a hot pink or a red, I don't remember the color, but a heart.
Jeez, oh,
And people
Pete.
could use signs, and then you guys had stickers and things at the libraries and at events.
Right.
But what was the message behind? What was the goal of that?
So I came to St. Michael's in December of 23, and it's a great time to come because all they expect you to do is Christmas at that point. You
Yeah.
know, nothing else is happening. So I get to meet
Yeah.
everybody. January, Carol Nichols comes up to me and says, I'm really worried about the election and the impact that's going to have on our city and our country. And I think we as a church need to do something about that. And I'm like, okay, let's have a meeting. She said, really? I've asked other priests before and they didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I said, well, let's see what happens. I said, I don't know anybody, so why don't you pick your favorite people?
I can't lose any friends.
Exactly. why don't you pick your favorite
I won't offend
people
anyone.
and
Right.
we'll have a meeting. And we did. And we started thinking about what was our lane in this?
Yeah.
Because
It's complicated.
well, and there's a lot of different ways you could go, but we decided that being a neighbor, being a good neighbor, loving your neighbor, I mean, we preach that all the time and we try to live that daily. So that seemed to be a good lane. And also, kindness is never for nothing. Every bit of kindness you invest, every bit of care you invest matters.
Yes.
And I think the reason that it was so popular was because it wasn't something huge.
Right.
You didn't have to, do anything horrible or embarrassing. You just had to be nice to somebody. And frankly, most of us do that most of the time.
Yeah.
Even Matt.
I agree.
Even Matt.
So
It's not as easy as
not.
just,
No,
I mean,
right.
especially, with this
yeah.
last election cycle and even now, it's hard to look at someone whose beliefs are not just opposite yours, right? We're not talking about should this road be a one-way road or a two-way road? Should there be a roundabout or a stoplight, right? Like we can disagree about those things, but it's like it feels like some of the beliefs are anti me and the people I love, and so how do you love a neighbor whose belief feels like hate?
Well, certainly it's
That's
nothing
an
new,
oddly
right?
well-composed question.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
that's a good one.
It's nothing new. We've been working on this for centuries and millennia.
And we've been crushing it. Your words.
So
2 stars.
So I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
Take that.
Is the answer to that question. I mean, I think it's a different path for every person. And I had people who said to me, I will not participate in this because I just can't love my neighbor who hates my children. And I'm not going to argue with that because I don't know if I could either. And we're not asking anyone to agree on any issues. We're just asking people to be present to one another. And because we are so far apart on everything, there's got to be some middle. And the middle is not going to be an issue at this point because we're too divided on every possible issue. And, in some cases, proud to be divided on these issues.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
But just to be in the same room together, just to go to communion together.
Yeah, people use the divisions as a line in the sand.
And a weapon.
Yeah, and I mean, when I put up the neighbor sign, and then my neighbor put up a Derek Marin sign. Okay, well that's hard. That's a very legitimate, difficult thing to try and be a good person and still care about that person when they don't care about my sister's rights or
Right.
Derek Marin, right?
Well, there goes one of our sponsors.
Goodbye, our 5:30.
And I'm sure that you
Yes.
heard that when you were in the community talking to people. So
yeah.
So what is the strategy? Is the strategy just to reflect? Is it maybe not love, just not hate? Like what was the recommendation? What did you guys come down to as sort of what are practical things that people can do to?
And if you don't mind, too, personally, how do you reset? I mean, you are the shepherd of a flock, and you are a human being at the top of that mast as well. So Gretchen's a good question, but also as a person, you're like, okay, I'm hearing this, and this makes me feel like this, but I need to find some common ground or some...
Well, and I had some personal attacks for not taking certain stands on things.
Sure.
From outside the parish. I mean, at St. Michael's, my goal is everyone's welcome. Everyone has to behave, but everyone's welcome. And if you are welcome, you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Because so one of the things we said was everyone has a story. Mm-hmm. And everyone has a reason for becoming who they are. Mm-hmm. And in that is always hardship. In that is always pain.
For sure.
In that is always sorrow and maybe some humiliation. I don't know what your story is, but whatever it is, it's hard fought. It got you to where you are. And maybe you don't even like where you are.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things that happened
Not liking where
was-
you are is a good vector for hating someone else.
Well, exactly.
It definitely could cause it.
But if you realize, sometimes we have to remind people that they're good.
Yeah.
And if you realize that you're
Yeah.
capable of kindness, that you're capable, and maybe you hate all of your neighbors, and the way you're going to deal with that is you're going to walk the Metro Parks paths and pick up garbage, so that you don't have to be nice to any person.
Yeah, sure.
You can just put something good out
Something
in the
positive.
world, you
Yeah.
know? Everyone has to do their own thing their own way, and we never said what was right or wrong. We always said we are nonpartisan. Our objective is to love our neighbor, and we're just going to do our best to figure out ways to bring people together to do that. And sometimes it was stunningly wonderful, and sometimes it was very painful.
What was a wonderful time that happened, that it came together?
Well, people would say
Good
about
question.
the signs.
Yeah.
They would say, well, I have a neighbor who put it up, and I don't even know who that person is. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go introduce myself
Yeah.
to that neighbor.
It does feel good
so
to
that
see
I
them.
can
It does.
meet them.
Yeah, and I do think when I see it, I'm like, this
It's
is
like
a safe.
Yeah.
The-
I had people say to me, my grumpiest guy, who will remain nameless, said to me, I see those signs and I think I should probably be a better neighbor.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't sound like that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Or why you in my house, Gayle?
Don't make jokes like that about a priest. It's,
Okay.
it's just
That's right.
not
Sorry.
a good
Right.
thing
Yo,
for
got it.
me.
Got it. Okay.
Anyway.
You're not a Catholic priest. You're fine.
First of all, you're not the only
Yikes.
Gayle.
Don't touch that.
No, don't
touch
go
that.
there. Anyway, we're
I meant
just
Gail
all
Sayers.
trying to be great here. So I'm not going to judge the way you try to be kind. I'm just going to
Yeah.
ask you to keep trying to be kind.
Yeah, man, that's well said.
And maybe it feels like fluff, and maybe it feels like it's not going to make an impact, but I think it did make an impact.
I don't
Without
think
it-
it feels like fluff, because I think that you probably realized, maybe not at the time, but maybe the whole group did, that kind in that context is difficult. And it shouldn't be, probably.
We gave people as many suggestions as we could.
Yeah.
We encouraged them to post what they did so that other people could be inspired.
Right.
And here's my latest thing. Are you ready for this? Be positive about this, because I haven't gotten all good feedback about it.
Okay,
So-
we're ready.
So give me some good feedback, okay?
Okay.
Intentional acts of kindness
Yeah.
bingo card.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
For sure.
Isn't that
I actually think
great?
it's a
That's
great
good.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have some that are filled in already, and you could fill it, or you could have someone else fill it in for you.
Fun.
I ran a meeting where I had other people, like everybody wrote in one of the squares.
Yeah.
And of course, the heart is in the middle square.
I
Yeah,
love it.
So
You could have businesses give those out. It could be a whole thing.
well, right,
She didn't
that's
ask for
what we're-
suggestions.
Well, we'll have a marketing meeting
it's
after
still
this.
It's a beautiful suggestion.
It is a.
Can
It
I
is.
ask, harkening back to prior, was there ever, maybe it was your first time, but was there a time that you were intimidated or particularly challenged to talk to a group about your faith? Did you ever have, I don't know, this is a true calling, so maybe that it isn't something that's relatable, but ever have imposter syndrome or struggle with, is this right?
Am I doing this right?
Yeah, right.
Well, every day.
Yeah, I get it.
And I
I mean, I get
am
it for
a
you.
priest. So, there's no changing the fact
Yeah.
that I'm a priest. How I live that, I try to be as authentic and have as much integrity as possible.
Yeah.
Am I ever intimidated to talk about my faith? No.
Yeah.
But I also don't expect anyone else to have my faith. Everybody comes to God their own way
Yeah.
or not, and I'm not going to judge that. That's, again, for God to take care of. So I don't worry about that. But if people want to hear what I think about something, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm willing to tell them, but in the most gentle, loving way.
Yeah, may I ask you a question put on the spot? God's plan, how do you describe it?
We interfere with it a lot.
Sure.
People say to me, how could God do this current situation? How could God allow these things to happen? And my response is, God did not vote for whoever won. God is with us in making the world as good as it can be. And when we're working on making the world as wonderful and inclusive and loving and compassionate and caring as possible, then we are enacting God's plan. And when we aren't doing that, when we're doing the opposite of that or not doing anything at all, then we are not participating in
Yeah.
God's plan. And I'm not one of those people who think God has an exact plan. So I was supposed to be here today instead of last week, and at 4:30 instead of 5:30. No. I think that God gives us...
That clearly wasn't God's plan.
Yeah, God gives us a world and says, do your best.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm delighted in you. And you know, my message is always how much God loves you.
Yeah.
That is always the message.
Why does
And
he
that
love
is
your
the
siblings
fuel.
less? Why are they not listening more?
I
She's
pray
gonna get
for
so
them
much trouble.
every
Yeah,
day.
sure. Well,
Every day.
yeah, I bet.
How do you think and nothing against Catholic priests or any other religions, faith leaders, but how do you feel having children, and I'm assuming maybe you're maybe not married at some point,
Married at some point.
affect your ability to be a leader of a church? How does it impact your role?
Well, certainly I understand being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the really hard things about being a parent. Adopting children is hard.
Yeah.
And rewarding, but hard. So I also have been divorced. So so some people consider me not a very good example, and they're probably right. But I also understand that, you know,
Sure.
all of which is to say, it makes me very non-judgmental.
Yeah.
I mean, I will walk with
Well,
you.
it doesn't make you make it non-judgmental.
My experience in life has led me to my story.
Right.
Has led me to this
But there's a lot of
place.
courage in that. So
Well,
take that from yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
And walking with people through their journey also gives me courage.
Yeah.
And inspires me and moves me.
Yeah.
Moves me deeply over and over again. So, do I know the answer to everything? No. Do I pretend to know the answer to everything? Oh, no. And, you know, 90% of the time I am preaching to myself, unless I'm really mad at somebody, and then I'm preaching at them. But
Sure.
most of the time I am preaching to myself. But I think that allows me to be with you when you might be ashamed.
Yeah.
Or when you might be
What a beautiful
thinking
thing.
that no one else will love you or understand you, or that something that you did was unforgivable. I will be there for you in that.
Yeah.
And I will be with you in that. And it doesn't mean you don't need to be reconciled
Sure.
and do the right thing
Sure.
and bad
Yeah.
behaviors.
It's
and blah,
relatable.
blah,
Well, it's
blah.
a very beautiful
It
thing
is.
to
But-
say. Yeah.
But to be there is an honor.
Yeah.
It's a privilege.
That's exceptionally
There's
well
there's a lot of beauty and welcome to a place of imperfection, right? A homily, you know, that starts with, you know, this isn't a perfect roadmap. Follow me. I've got it all right. There's something, an authenticity to that, and vulnerability to be able to lead with that as well. To say, let's talk about family. Let's talk about, you know, it's hard being a parent, and you know, you've inevitably, if you've had kids, you've done things right and you've done things wrong.
Oh, yes. But I will also say there is no perfect example except, I think, one, which would be Jesus. But, you know, not everybody thinks that. So
Matt was hoping.
I know. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's been hard for you this afternoon, and I'm sorry. Thank you for allowing me to walk with
We're all
you
learning.
through
That's all we
that
can do. Yeah.
journey.
It's a little like a poem I wrote. While I was
And-
walking
and
on a
was I
beach.
And
was
we are
saying-
out of time.
Yeah, I was walking on a beach.
And there was one set of footprints.
That's right.
And they were not Matt's.
Right.
So anyway, nobody's perfect. So living into imperfection is normal. It's not abnormal or shameful or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's who we are.
I'm curious your thoughts on and what I'm going to sort of term professional neutrality, right? But when somebody approaches you, whether this is as a social worker or in private practice or as a priest, someone approaches you with a dilemma that you have personally a strong opinion on, but they're not asking Gayle, they're asking Reverend Gayle. Mm-hmm. How do you approach that?
I keep that in check.
It's not about me. It's how I approach it. And I trust the goodness in every person. So all I have to do is be a companion, and people will come to what they need to do. And it may be a good choice and it may be a bad choice. And if they ask me, I might weigh in on that.
Yeah.
sometimes they don't want really to know what I think. They just want a companion. So
Yeah.
So in general, I would say I try not to make it about me, and I try to make it about what's best for that person at all times.
That one's
And-
difficult.
It's very hard, yeah.
But
Especially for selfish people like Gretchen.
Right.
I always have an opinion.
Yeah.
What is the
God, I hope I get to
best,
ask the
the
question.
absolute best church potluck meal that someone brings to the potluck?
My favorite potluck is all desserts.
Yes.
All right.
But
And
what,
no main course.
Jello? It's like some Jello related
No, I don't.
mold?
I don't speak of
What?
Jell-O.
Okay, so what would it be?
Who leads
cares?
with Jell-O?
Actually, lemon meringue pie.
Okay.
Just a sea of lemon meringue pie would be perfect.
Yeah, that was the name of my first band.
So my philosophy of life is never pass up one piece of lemon meringue pie.
Yeah.
Not a whole pie. I don't want a whole pie. For you listening out there, I do not want a whole pie. I made
But
the
we do.
mistake one time
Oh.
of telling a congregation that I liked Reese's bunnies, and I got so many Reese's
Oh, my
eggs and Reese's
God.
bunnies. I had
sounds
to give them to
wonderful.
charity.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Was
one
she grateful?
piece. She loved it.
Yeah, she loved it. Is there?
I think that's a good strategy about pie.
Never,
Yeah.
never pass
You're very
up one
wise.
piece,
Yeah.
even if it's breakfast.
Have you done that at St. Michael's yet? The all dessert potluck?
It's meant
For
to be an
salvation.
accident, Kevin.
I got okay.
Right,
no,
ruin
this is
it.
interesting. So if it was intentional,
Oops. Yeah,
it
that would
wouldn't be as special as.
So when you're sending the lists of what to bring out, you just accidentally only do desserts.
Well, people sign up, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Damn it! Somebody signed up for
Yeah.
meatloaf.
That's right. Purgatory, here thy come.
Well, actually, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a potluck, and someone brought an old-fashioned tuna casserole. And I haven't made one of those since I had
We used to
children
have
at
that as
home.
kids, yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of nice.
like the bow tie pasta.
Did it have peas in
like-
it or no peas?
I love peas in it.
no peas.
Green beans.
Green
Whoa.
beans.
What?
Yes.
These Episcopalians.
Well, you know.
Lord.
We're out there.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and the
crazy.
cheesy potatoes is like a standard cheesy potato recipe.
You know, I had a bunch of people from church over, and I made twice baked potatoes. You would have thought they were crack cocaine. They were gone.
Yeah.
I was delighted.
you can't beat it. You can't beat a
No,
good twice baked.
baked potatoes.
No,
Come
yeah.
on.
Is it
Cheesy potatoes
oh
are,
my
for,
God,
are for
Lord.
sports teams.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
With the cornflakes on top. Matt, did you have a question?
No, that's fine.
Not anymore.
That's right. Let's get more back to that Jello. Is it possible for, or do you feel like a congregation to get too large for an individual to be able to steward it?
Well, no. I'm going to say no to that. And I'm going to say that's because I am part of a team.
Okay.
It is not me.
Talk to me about
It
that.
is a group of people all bringing their best, all bringing their skills, all bringing their challenges.
Sure.
And, so with everything that I do, I try to build a team that works for that issue, where they bring their knowledge and skills and professionalism. And let me just say, St. Michael's has such amazing professional, skilled, experienced, knowledgeable people. So whatever problem we have, whether it's plumbing or a capital campaign, there's a team.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I am one small part of that team that brings one small set of skills. But without a team, it's nothing.
How do you? I've known you for some time. You are an emotionally intuitive person. Have you ever, and by no means am I asking you to mention the congregation, but you have to be able to sort of feel the collective health of your congregation. When you feel like something is amok, have it be something that's happening on a national level on the planet or something locally. Have you had an experience where you felt like gotten your team together, no matter where it was, and said, our congregation needs help. We need an uptick. We need to get together.
You need to address something.
Yeah. Was there an experience like that, or how do you address sort of the global health of the people who you get to interact with as a community?
Well, if I felt like there was an unhealthy thing happening, the Episcopal Church has a diocesan structure and a national structure with a lot of resources. And they have been wonderful when things have happened. I mean, church is changing. It is not the same church I was ordained in.
Sure.
It is not the same skill set I thought I was going to be using. Let's just be really honest about that. And for me, I've been able to adapt enough I mean, I wish it was easier, and I wish people did what I said.
Yeah.
But in the big picture,
Me too.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. They'd be better
just
off,
kidding. But but in the big picture of things, again, the community is not limited. So there are always resources and always people to help, and always a bigger body than just the problem that we're having.
Sure.
And if we're having it, probably someone else is having it too.
Absolutely.
So
are you recruiting members always?
Always. Well, okay. So let me address that in a different way. I am not recruiting anyone. I am inviting people to a community who will love them.
So I'm curious because I feel like, and I don't, this is anything that is an intentional belief. I don't know where it came from, but as someone who doesn't live in Ottawa Hills, I feel like many of the things that are in Ottawa Hills are for Ottawa Hills only.
That's true of you.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's an important.
But is your congregation entirely?
No, we're from all over. And, the church is located in a beautiful space.
So pretty.
With surrounded by woods and cemeteries and, trees. So it feels very isolated, but in fact, any GPS will get you there. So, we today I brought 6 people to Rotary from my church to help pack the period packs. We're in the community. We're doing things all the time. We learned even more during Neighbor to Neighbor that we are part of something so much bigger than just our neighborhood or just Ottawa Hills or just Toledo. I mean, I spoke in Adrian, Michigan, I don't know when, recently, to a group of people who wanted to start something like Neighbor to Neighbor. And I told the story. And this Methodist minister stood up and said, someone put a sign in our yard the other day, and I didn't know what it was. It had a heart on it, and your neighbor. And now I understand. And I thought, we have crossed state lines.
We're in Michigan now.
We are in Michigan.
Even a Methodist
That's
got
right.
it.
All right.
Your
Right.
words. Yeah.
So, so it's so much bigger. And so I don't think Ottawa Hills defines us I think it did, especially when the church was formed, but it doesn't define us anymore.
Sure.
What kind of interfaith or interdenominational work do you do? Are you a member of
I see you all the time.
any of the interfaith councils or anything like
Sure
that?
is.
I do all kinds of fun things.
I see you everywhere.
I see you everywhere, which is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly
Yeah.
at SIP.
Mostly it's. But there are some wonderful multi-faith organizations that I want to be a part of, and we want to be a part of, and have been even before I came. So nothing new there.
And what is the goal of those groups? Just same things that Matt was just saying, addressing larger issues, working together, that kind of thing?
It depends on the group, but it also has to do with making Toledo as good as it can be, and working together to do that, and understanding that we have to cross our partisan lines and our religious lines and our lines and be
With
one.
Jello eaters.
One person.
Jello eaters and
even
non-Jello
Jello
eaters.
eaters.
Yeah. There's a
It's
place
really
for
I
Jello
will
with
love
fruit
them
and
as they
just
are.
straight
That's
Jello.
right. That's big of you.
I know we're running close on time, but I do want to go back and talk about 2020.
Yes.
Global pandemic. I heard a story that you sort of took a different, a unique approach to this. That you just
You're giving people
you
COVID.
drew, you just.
She was patient zero.
Right.
Patient zero.
Don't say that.
Well, because it's my
No, like
show.
you packed up,
So
you packed up a car and drove.
Well, I did actually. Well, I needed a break after a while. I mean, technology is not my thing, and there was so much new technology I had to learn that I pretty much, had a heart attack and almost died. I'm
is that
just
when
kidding.
you learned one of the GPSs?
Yeah. So I got in the car and I drove around the country because I really felt like I needed to A, get out of my
That's awesome.
dining room,
Yeah.
and B, remember that people are good.
Yeah.
And
Just see other people.
Yeah.
Not on a screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to see the beautiful world that we live in, and our country is so beautiful. I drove from Youngstown down to New Orleans, through Texas. Texas is big.
Yeah.
To San Diego, up California to Portland, and then
Yeah.
back across and down. And I had some incredible experiences. But here's what I learned. People who I probably would not be friends with were so kind to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, people I would probably not be friends with
Sure.
were so kind to me. And it helped me to understand that it's possible to be kind no matter what you think or what you believe or who you are, and to connect with people. You don't have to be their best friend.
That's right.
Right.
You know, I will never see any of those people again. And not in a bad way, but I'll never see them again. But they were there for me when I needed them. And it reminds me that I need to be that way as well. So, it was
did
amazing.
something not as long, but I did a road trip towards the midway of COVID too. Just got in the car and
Just had to go.
it was a great break in the middle of all that nonsense.
What was your favorite thing you saw on the trip?
Oh, I don't even know if I can say.
just
The
laden
place I want to
profanity.
go back to is Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And I want to, that whole Idaho to the sea area, I would love to go back
Gorgeous.
to and
Yeah.
see more of that. But every day was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could narrow it down.
What is the thing you do to wind down, even on Mondays? Or
Come here,
Yeah.
talk with you guys.
Good.
I mean, I was blown away when you said, you know, Monday is your day off. And I know for a lot of my folks in religious life, Monday is their day off. I don't know that it actually hit me until you just said it, that like you're at Rotary every Monday.
Not every Monday, Kevin,
well,
I'm sorry.
Okay. But I mean, I see you
a
there
couple
more often
times
than
a
not.
month, yeah.
And so I mean, it's not lost on me that that's not
That's
not work.
considered day off.
Yeah, that's
Right.
work, and you're doing it.
Right. Well, you don't. I always say you don't grow a parish unless you're out in the community.
I say the same thing.
People need to know who you are and what you stand for, and that you care about them, and that you love them, and that you're there for them when they need you. And I'm proud of that. I have wonderful friends.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
I was going to ask who.
Some of them around this table.
Yeah.
Really wonderful friends. I love to travel. I love to cook, and I love to eat out both equally.
Nice.
I read a lot. I am occasionally crafty, although in a very pathetic, very remedial kind of way. But mostly, I just love what I do, and I know that the clock is ticking, and I will not be doing it forever. And so I'm just going to love every minute of
go.
it while
Yeah.
I'm in
You have to.
while I'm in
That's
it.
great.
What's
I'm going to love it.
what's food that people like that you don't like? Sans Jello. Like, is there something that you're like, oh, good?
I
Tell me
like
something-
almost everything.
Say something. I knew it. I knew you were going to say something positive.
She wants to love everything.
Give me something negative. Some
know-
music that you just can't listen to that people like. What is it? Tell me something that you're.
Offal.
that drives you
I don't
crazy.
eat a lot of offal.
Okay.
All right.
What
All
is
right.
it?
Offal. I don't eat a lot of kidneys and livers and
Okay.
glands.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat.
Stomach
I wouldn't choose
linings,
glands.
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I tend to avoid those. I have eaten some of them, but I tend to avoid them if
Okay.
possible. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is expected.
You're getting there.
But
Yeah.
but if you travel with me, I will make you try things that you would never normally eat.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next big trip? What's the trip that you're planning for right now?
Fairly soon, I'm going to Provence.
Nice.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're renting a car and we're going to go to every winery.
That's awesome. That's
and
gonna
spit.
be so fun.
We're going to spit and spit and spit.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the day, you don't have to.
Well,
That's a public service
I
announcement.
don't want to give away
from
too many of my
Gretchen.
secrets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be a beautiful trip. That's
Yeah.
gonna
I
be
Can't
great.
wait. Well, again, my philosophy in life right now is I'm not going to wait for a certain moment in time
That's right.
Agreed.
It's never a
to be
perfect time.
happy or to
Yeah.
do the things I want to do or to take chances or to
Yeah.
go crazy
Or which host invites you.
Yeah.
That's right. Life's too
Shane
short. I'm not coming at
McKellen.
5:30.
You're
I'm
going to wait for
coming
the
at 4:30.
5:30. I'll do the 4:30
I'm
show.
here.
Well, thank you
I-
so much for being here and
Yeah.
for all of the back and forth and the.
I do want to give you a little. This grifter.
Yeah.
I was like, when did you know? When did you book with Gretchen?
Oh, weeks before.
Okay, so we had.
Did
coffee.
you weeks?
I was like,
This is
yeah.
actually really impressive.
I was like, what?
Gretchen.
The deceit?
Weeks before.
So we sat down and Gayle mentioned the podcast. I was like, yeah, but it's one of the things I want to talk about today. Would you be my guest? And
and she was so worried.
Well,
the
wait.
text.
Hang
that she
on.
sent
So
me-
what,
He's
so
not
what
done
did?
yet.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
go
so
ahead.
like then she was like, "Well, give me more details," which I ignored. And then I was like, "I'll let you
I
know."
did research and I
was like-
wanted to
it's like
ask
there's
questions about what I heard you guys talking
So
about.
just real, it's basically softballs. Read this review to help you. And so I
2
sent,
stars.
so I sent her I MapQuested it or whatever that is, and I sent it to her. before I came upstairs, I took a picture of the keypad.
But you're missing the best line. The best line was when we walked out of the coffee shop and I said, "You're not just asking me this because I brought up the podcast, are you? I mean, you're not just asking me to be on there because I..."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, no. I really want you to..."
Yeah.
But I'm actually so impressed that when Matt asked you, your answer to him was not,
She kept the cover.
"I've already been asked."
Exactly.
Well, that wasn't the question. The question was, "Will you be here at 5:30?" And I said, "Yes."
I have a lot of women in my life that answer just the question I asked.
He's used to being-
That's called
I
a
did
lie.
not lie.
And it
being
is.
lied to by women.
Interpreted
that's
it
right.
in my own special way.
You know how long I've been making Jell-O for Gretchen?
And then Jenny was texting me, "Gayle needs to talk to you. Matt asked her to be on the podcast." I'm like, "Ah."
I'm like, "What do I do
And then
now?"
I was like, "All right, just lie to him. He loves it. He loves it."
I just want to say, I did not lie. I told the truth every single time.
She'll stay here till 5:30 if she has to.
It's 5:32.
There you go.
Good.
Didn't lie.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
It's
no
been
kidding.
delightful.
You're the best.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful to be here.
Special thanks to Reverend Gayle Catinella from St. Michael in the Hills and the Neighbor to Neighbor Project for being our guest. And thanks to our sponsors, Wetro Wealth Management and WorkSpring for their continued support of the 419. For Gretchen DeBacker and Matt Killam, I'm Kevin Mullen. We'll see you back in the next episode of the 419.
You did it.
That was fun.
That last second lasted so long. I looked down, because I always look down to like make sure it's still counting. And then I hit stop.
Yeah.
And I swear that was the longest second of my life as I'm looking, I'm like, did I not hit record?
Oh my God.
We were rolling. We were good.
Okay, let's take a picture real quick.
We would have had to start all
Yeah.
over again. Same
Now
jokes.
that we did all these advanced questions, let's start recording.
Yeah.
Same jokes.
Good
Good
Right
first
here.
trip to the
Thank
plate.
you.
Yeah.
Matt likes to get right in the front.
That's how we talked about doing it, so I don't know why you're already doing it.
Thank you. Well, maybe a little, but
Yeah, but it's fine.
not really.
It's fine.
of omission.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
spent the
afternoon with
Thank you
we
so
have a
much for
5:30?
being here. Appreciate it.
We
Sorry,
do.
just here.
I saw him.
Matt at 5:30 is probably here,
Yeah, they're here. But they'll wait. They'll wait to come up.
but Matt needs to go out to the bathroom, so.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, they're not up
They're,
yet.
they're still outside.
Perfect.
It was great.
Thank you.
Great fun. When is it? When will it come on?
Hang on, I can give you, let me.